I'm live in Jim Miller's garden, and there's the sun behind me, and the sun wasn't up when I got up this morning, and I did a lot of mulching. And here, I'll turn it around. You don't want to see a sweaty guy. Uh, I d- I weeded my raised beds, and in the first bed here are some white onions, and for some reason this lower end they're smaller. They're not very tall, and I planted my white onions all the same day. And up here, these up here look really good. They're taller. I see a bud. This is the start of the where you pinch the buds off so they won't take the energy from the onion and get some weeds. Okay, they won't take the energy and they'll go to seed and then you won't get a bulb. You won't get an onion, much of an onion. So for some reason, these down here are smaller. Now, these beds were made at different times, and the soil on this bottom one was maybe a little different. And I noticed that there's less sunlight down here. It could be that, but they're in good, they look pretty good. And this next one are my last potatoes I planted, and they're doing pretty good. They're all up. There's 18 planted, and you can, I'll zoom in. I got a good phone to zoom in. Uh, and that's the last one that came up. And this first row closest to me is came up first, and the one over there is later. I think it was maybe different types of potatoes. Could be the grounds, the soil's cooler, a little bit cooler over there because there's kind of shaded. There's logs there that kind of shade in the evening. I don't know, but they're looking good. And here I planted in between these logs and rocks. I planted this first here are some watermelons, and there's about four there, or five, and that's enough. I got watermelons and I got some pumpkins, and I planted a good dozen pumpkin seeds, but I got just three. But that's really enough to. Now the plan is these potatoes will be dug here, more like a month and a half, and these watermelons and pumpkins, I can throw the vines over here on this bed and they can crawl around and have some room. But before then, they might have to crawl down here on the lawn for a bit, or they'll do both. They'll be crawling all over. So that's the plan. Save some space by planting stuff that crawls and stuff that gets removed in the same area. Now here are eight really good looking tomato plants. I wonder if this is a bud. Nope, not yet. We're getting close to maybe a few buds. I put these out. It's probably been about a month, and they're looking good. Got 10 viewers. Any chats? No chats. So thumbs up. One thumbs is better than none. So I got 8 tomatoes here. I don't know what kind they are because when I planted, I put in planters in the winter. I think it was the day after Christmas. I made in little planters. I put in cabbage. I put in everything that was an early crop: tomatoes, cabbage, bok choy, Napa cabbage, and uh, the labels washed off or kind of faded out, and I couldn't tell what was what. And the tomatoes, heck, these could be early girls, which is an early variety, and they're the best looking tomatoes I have in the garden right now. They were planted about second to last group. And I'm going to make another attempt, another raised bed See, I can't put them. There's daffodils here. I cannot put a bed there. It won't be very much room. It'd be a very narrow bed. So I'm thinking of putting one up here, and I can get it out quite a ways, and I'll put it clear up to here. Now there's some irises here that decided to spread out away from the bed, so I can kind of put the end here of the bed and go to here and have a nice little area. And I'm going to show you the materials that I'm going to make to bring up here. And it's probably not going to be the easiest job, but and here is the neighbor's yard. They do not take care of it. They don't mow it. A couple days ago, there was some junk strewn. There's a piece of tin up there in a garbage can, and that was laying around for several weeks. But the other day, someone came down and stood them up, and I'm not even sure there's anybody living in that lower. I haven't seen anybody like live in that or coming in and out of that apartment for quite some time. Ooh, there's some paper whites here. I wonder if these are daffodil related. 18, three thumbs up, great. And a couple days ago, I cut this what's remaining of this tree down. I cut it off. I, I had to cut it. It was huge. I only got a 12-inch saw and it's electric, and I got it down. Took a couple hours or so, but I'm going to slice about every 10, 12 inches. I'm going to try to slice and make pieces, like 5 pieces there. And I got this other tree that I cut down, and I got its stump cut, and that was a project. And I'm going to cut this in half and take it over and start a raised bed. And I'm going to take a bunch of this wood and, oop, I almost bit it there. I almost tripped over that. So, well, the groundhog's back. Well, that sounds like I got another groundhog adventure. And I'll take some of this limbs and brush, this dead stuff that's been cut down, and I'll put it in the pit. And I'll try to get some soil from, I'm going to try from over here. I'm going to get a lot of dead stuff from under this brush pile. I'm going to do a lot of sawing and cutting pieces. I'll put the big pieces in the bottom and then smaller pieces. And then I'll start getting, I might throw some mulch, some leaf mulch and other things. And then try to get some soil around this uh, pile of wood and make another raised bed like the ones up there that I just showed. Okay, I'm going to walk around to the 5 thumbs up. I think that could be a record. And no chats. Well, the 2 people watching aren't going to be missing much. Sweetwater Creek, Sweetwater, Tennessee. And it needs some rain. Hasn't been raining much over the last probably 9 months. And here is, I forgot this was I think this is the Star of Jerusalem, uh, like a little lily. That one's got a lot of, I think last year it had 3 flowers. Now it's got a good dozen. So that's growing along the creek. I could be wrong on that flower name, but oh, maybe I'll show the duck nest. I'll go over here and see what the duck is up to. We have like city ducks that I think they're flightless. I've never seen them fly. They're like tame ducks that went wild, went rogue, and there's no real reason for them to fly. They live pretty well. And okay, and they're fat. Where is the was it this? This is the only brush pile there is. Where is that nest? Oh, well, it's here, but maybe there's one egg. There was like 3 eggs, and maybe she abandoned it. Probably because I peeked at her. She said, "I'm not gonna put any more eggs there." I've been found out. So that was kinda disappointing. And here's the neighbor's chickens. I'm gonna look for, you guys gonna get out again? What's your name? Sienna? Sienna. Me and Sienna got in a fight, and I got a scar on my leg from these, what they call spurs, because their chickens got out, and I was rounding them up, and I had to fight them to push them in this other pen so I can let the hen back in. And, ooh, what's we got here? The I gotta back up. It looks like a cake. What do you want? You make me some poop for the garden? Don't show off. One viewer. I better get over in the garden. And she's got ducks too. And they're probably look, two of them are mallards, obviously, and the other one might be half mallard. One, four, 5 thumbs up. Oh, and Astro is is M3 said hi. Easy Z2T said hi. Hi guys. Where you guys from? I've been getting a lot of foreign. This is the United States, but I got a good number of people that are from all around the world that watch me stumble around my garden and do videos. And I don't know where. Maybe I'll start here. Got some asparagus that grew up. It's head high, and we were in on the coast of Alabama for a week, and I failed to get it harvested. And I got a couple earlier this year, and they didn't want to cook it in the hot pot. So I said, "Okay, well I'm growing this." So I got these two older plants that are still alive, and I think I got four little ones that I planted last year from seed. Now next here is some turkey craw beans. They're Mama's beans. They're a very famous bean, and you can see that they're starting to grow up, and they're going to grab this fence, and they're going to fill this fence full of vines and a lot of beans, and they look terrific. Uh, They look real good. I had to cover them during the cold for about 3 days, and I left the cover on an extra day because I forgot to uncover them. They look great. They just absolutely, and they're starting to wind and tie together. And for some reason, they seem to have eyes, and they'll find that fence on their own, more or less. Kind of cool. And this here row is a tomato row. No more chats. Okay. And I planted these March 1st, and I had to cover them too for several days. I would put a plastic planter cup over the top of them and then put leaves on top pretty thick, like 2 or 3 inches, and they didn't freeze, and they're looking good. Now they're in a very poor lit area. This shed knocks out the light here about 1 or 2 p.m., so they don't have any sunlight in the afternoon. And I wanted to try try early tomatoes here by the shed, since we got real good morning light now because of they cut trees down. I cut trees down, and there's good light. And I got this branch. I was talking about the branch on this tree, a lower branch here cut down. I A guy came out and cut that down. It wasn't exactly cost effective, but it's down. Now I got even light across the what do you call it, the canopy of this tree. So all the gardens basically gonna have even light from now. Pretty much lit light. The garden is lit up at sunrise, the whole garden. And as the summer goes, that sun's gonna be further over, so it's gonna be lit up for maybe 3 to 4 hours, the whole garden. So there's no excuse for stuff not growing. Okay, one viewer. Well, I'll try to make it interesting. And here is some red potatoes, and they were planted. Probably they're planted around March 1st too. And you barely notice now, but the ones on the end get more light. They get light from around the end of the shed, and this one's and like up here, this one gets probably the least light. And it came up maybe 1 or 2 weeks after these ones up there. That one at the top is the biggest one, and the tomato up here is big. Oh, I know what to do. I had something set. I'm gonna see if I can do a video. 6 viewers. So I got 6 viewers going to show me to cage a tomato, and this potato has already got buds. That means it's starting to send up. They call them tillers, I think, and they'll send them. The tillers will grow under the potato and start growing tubers. So we're gonna have potatoes probably in under 2 months. Let's see. This is April. Yeah, it's gonna be maybe mid-May. We're gonna have potatoes ready to dig. Depends on when they. And I'm putting this tomato cage in one-handed. I hope I don't hit rocks. So far, so good. I'm gonna go on the other side and doesn't grab me. Oh, I gotta get this over here. Oh yeah, it's going in good. Now I gotta get this one. Ah, yeah, I hit some hard stuff, but it's in pretty good. So the tomato, I keep the foliage inside the cage and keep them off the ground. I used to raise tomatoes in South Dakota, and I just let them go on the ground. And maybe occasionally you will have a rotten one, but down here it's wet, and they will rot. Really, I mean, just like the entire gob of tomatoes would just start rotting. And that first year, I had a lot of rotten tomatoes. I would need like stews and stuff out of them, out of green tomatoes, and that was it. And I had to get cages to keep them off the ground. So next here, I got it's the same principle of over there that I have watermelons and pumpkins in between stuff that will be removed. Like these potatoes will be gone, and I can let this is first one here is cantaloupe. I'll let the cantaloupe crawl over here in this fairly big area, and the corn. Well, I'll talk about the corn later. The corn will be harvested later than the potatoes, but this whole area can be vined out with like these here. This what did I have? Oh, these are the this is a Asian squash that's really sweet, and I made a pie out of them, and they tasted pretty good in pie. And my mother-in-law, she's very ill now. She'd like to put them in hot pot, and she'd put them in the soup and cook it, and then she'd have a squash to eat. And but I'm taking over with it. Oh, there's a lot here now. Let's see. Wow, there's 4 and there's 7, and I think these are zucchini. I think I put, like, in my mind, I said, "Well, I'm gonna put, there's another hill down here," but the zucchini are a little more compact and they don't spread out as much, so I thought, "I'll put the zucchini here, and then I would put the" and there's 3 of these come up. I hope these came up later, these last 2 hills, because of less light and heat, and they're coming up quite a bit later. There's 3, and these are, um, butternut squash, most likely, and I hope I get a couple more. I can just throw in a couple more. If there's no more than 3, I can just, throw in, another handful of seeds and have I want a good number because I make pie out of them too, and I got a piece of pie in the fridge I'm gonna have today most likely from these from last year. Okay. And these seeds on these last 2, these seeds are almost they're about 10 years old. They're 9 years. I got them in 17, 2017, and then I didn't a lot of people put their seed in the fridge. Oh, there's 6 corns there. I didn't know that. Okay. A lot of people put seed in their in the freezer. Hey, I think I see a push up. Oh, I don't think. I thought I saw another a squash pushing the soil up, but it may be under there yet, but I don't want to dig too deep and hurt it. And let's see what I'm talking about. Uh, so here, here's the squash, and let's see. First one here is butternut, and then there's the zucchini, and I make zucchini bread. I haven't planted zucchini in quite. Oh, I was talking about the age of the seed. A lot of people put their seeds in the freezer to keep them longer, and I just never got around to putting these older seeds in the freezer. They still come up. They still come up. So, and I may run out of seed here in a few years of those groups from about 10 years ago. Okay, there's some cabbage. I'll do the cabbage first. I'm going to go through everything, not getting any more chats. Okay, here's some cabbage. This one is actually, it's getting a little sunburnt. Gotta watch that. Gotta watch if they get a little sunburnt and it gets, wet or something, they may start to spoil. At least that one's making a cabbage. These here are bolting. I already trimmed these. I trimmed these 2 of, I think this is one plant. And I got cabbage leaves in the fridge where I use in hot pot, and it works well. You have hot pot, you put them in the boiling solution, and I put them and I eat them with meats and onions and stuff, and it's really really good tasting. So that's my routine now. And so the corn, okay, I planted corn, but it's pretty early. It was like this was I think it was definitely in February, like the last week or so of February. I planted corn, and like that last video I had, what is it, 16 hills, and only like 22 emerged. And I replanted like these two hills here are later plantings. I think most of these here are later, and they're going to be ripe at different times. You can see there's shorter ones, taller stalks, and it'll work. This happened before other times where I'll have a thin stand and I'll just add more corn, and I'm gonna have to hand pollinate a little bit more here because there's going to be different times of pollination. And I noticed on this one here, there's 6 stalks. So I must have added a seed, too many. That's going to be a challenge there to have all of them make an ear. They'll get, some of them will just get crowded out. But if I get 6 ears, that's great. And there's 3 here. That could be grass. I think that's still corn. It'll come along. All right, done with the corn. And I have I'll show, this is a volunteer Napa cabbage, and it started to bolt, and I'm taking the buds off so it can grow bigger leaves. And this is not how it's supposed to work. And this is a volunteer plant. I shelled out a bunch of seed here just before I started planting this year of seed, and I got some lettuce, and there's a bok choy that's growing right on the concrete, and it must have a crack. There's a seam here, and it must be in a seam because it actually should be dead. And I saw this little bok choy when we got back from Alabama. We were gone a week, and it was hot. It was, well, it was dry at least, and it was pretty hot later in the week. And it's growing, and it must have a crack in the concrete. And I'm gonna just leave it. And lettuce, and let's see, this is a bok choy, and it's doing the wrong thing. Instead of making a head, a classic head, it's blooming. And it's springtime is when they should be growing. Another lettuce. Okay, that looks like a bok choy. Yeah, that's a bok choy. I'm gonna get its blossom. And here's another little bok choy. We'll get it. I don't know why. Uh, it work. They work in the hot pot. These leaves, they taste good. But I want them to grow and make a, like the rest of the family kind of want a correctly grown, and maybe it's the wrong type of seed I got, but they're not performing as they should, but they're usable. Okay, couple viewers, no more chats. I keep going, keep a going. Like and subscribe. Okay, here is a real good row of sweet onions and Georgia sweet onions. And they're a little shorter here at the top, which doesn't make any sense. And they're absolutely just terrific, good and tall. And they're probably going to make big onions all the way down to the end. It could be, I'm thinking nutrition. I'm thinking that I put a bunch of the neighbors' chicken manure in piles, and this might be a thicker layer of manure down here because the sunlight is stronger up there, and it's growing. Well, I had other years, the last like 3 years. I think I had so, a pile of chicken manure 2 years ago, and I brought some. I think I brought her compost pile over here, and I put something here last spring, and it made the corn 8 foot. So I have some absolutely wonderful nutrition balance of some sort. A lot of people have all these. They get these bags and with these numbers 10, 10, 10, and all these numbers, all this stuff. And I'm old school. You just you just try your best, and it's what do you call it? Trial and error, and trying to make things grow, and try to be as cheap as possible. And I bought these onion sets. That's one of the things I bought. I bought this corn. A lot of the stuff I bought years ago. These all potatoes have been like my seed potatoes, and I don't see any reason to change because they're growing good. And these, I just mulched these onions this morning to keep. There's several reasons: nutrition, uh, keeping the weeds down, and keeping the moisture in. It'll keep the blazing sun. It's been blazing lately, and it's supposed to get up towards 90 this week, next week, and it'll keep that ground a little cooler and keep them just keep the moisture in. And here next is my carrot row, and they're kind of thin, but that might be good. I usually plant them too thick. They're kind of thin here, but they're filling in the row, and they're a little thicker right here in the middle where they're probably a little bit better soil conditions. And down here, I was running out of seed, so I know that's the reason why there's not very many. There's actually 3 carrots down there. And down here, if it's a heavy rain and if I have the channels open, if there was carrots there, they would more tend to get buried by washed down soil. And here's my cabbage mess. Gonna have too many cabbages. The neighbor, I think she sells her eggs out on her front porch. I might, if I get loaded with cabbages, I'm gonna say, "Here, just give them away," or in the best case scenario, sell them for 50 cents a piece or something for me. So I got cabbage crazy. If they all put heads, I'm gonna be loaded. And I got these cabbages from last year, more of the cabbage. But first, this is my old way of composting. I would throw it over the rail over there next to the patio, and I brought this pile of smelly compost, and all the pumpkins are coming out of it. And I'm gonna take some of these and plant them over there next to the neighbors. I've been doing it, and they'll crawl around. They'll they just like to crawl into the neighbors. She don't mind. It's less for the mowers to mow when there's a bunch of vines. So a lot of and I might leave some of these here. I don't know if it's kind of a bad what do you call it, thing where there's going to be no room here because these cabbages is going to take 2 to 3 months, and these pumpkins are going to be all over the place. And I do have there's also volunteer tomatoes in here too. So if a plant dies somewhere, I'm going to just drop a tomato in where it died. And I'll show later. And here, this tomato I rescued. Oh, well, it came off. It's already had a couple tomatoes on it, and I threw them in the chili, and it looks kind of sick, but it was a tomato I rescued last fall and brought it. No, it was actually in a pot with another plant, and that plant died. And I kept the tomato and I brought it out here and tied it to the fence. And it's going to get going. It just needs some hot weather. which we're gonna get. Okay, I'm gonna show these three lower cabbages bolted, and I took some of the leaves off and I got in the fridge for hot pot. Here is getting to be pretty nice. It's odd, it's weird. It grew pretty tall and then it put a head on, and I was about ready to cut it and make cabbage and sausage. And I thought, I'm going to leave that. And it doubled its size since. And here's another real, like a classic looking little cabbage. He's going to be, and I got one in which one was it? Oh, this one here. There was a cabbage starting to split. I cut it and I got it in the fridge. And I better start getting the cabbage ate up because I've got a few on deck. And here are the young cabbage. How many is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Is it 13? 13? And there's 25 total because there's a tomato at the end there. And that tomato was actually pretty big compared to the others. Now the others are sort of caught up. Okay. And here, let's see. This looks like broccoli rabe. And I might try that in the hot pot. I think it's broccoli rabe. It might be Napa. I think it's rabe. And here is some Napa that's blooming. I don't know why it's blooming in the spring like that. Okay, white onions, a single row, just got it mulched this morning, and a volunteer lettuce. And the volunteer things here on the burn, you can see straight up through there, there's little plants. Those I shelled out. I didn't want to shell out the seed pods in the house because it'll just be a mess on the floor. And I did out, it was a warm day. Gosh, it was like early February, nice warm day. Shelled them out, and I knew very damn well there's going to be a seed get loose, and they're going to be growing most likely along the berm, and that's where they are. And peas, I had trouble. I planted peas here 3 times, and the last time they came up good. The Alaska peas came up real good. They're a short season, and I don't know what they were. Maybe I find there's a packet over there in the onions, and it was a different variety, and maybe like 20 of them, 25 to 30 of them came up, and that wasn't enough. And I mulched on one side of them to I got lettuce here, and I don't want to get dirt and leaves and mulch in there, so I put mulch on one side of the peas. So if I had mulch here and the wind comes up or birds, it would get the lettuce all dirty. And this is a trick. This is something I thought of myself. Uh, if you have lettuce and you get dirt in your lettuce because of hard rains or wind, and I last year I started putting rags around the plants, and then it does just 3 things. It keeps moisture in, it keeps the dirt off the leaves, and I just cut it and put it in a tub, get it out of the fridge, and throw it in a bowl, and don't have to wash it. It there's nothing, there's really no grit or anything in there. So that is I hate sorting lettuce and dirt. It takes like a half an hour to get a good bowl of lettuce cleaned up, and I just grab a panfuls and throw in the bowl. And I think that might be a leaf I didn't pick up. The lower end here is better looking lettuce. It's right there. It's too thick. Just a lot of it came up and it's a little too thick. Down here, it looked real thin. Now it's filled in good. and it looked like we're about 3 days off, 3 to 4 days off. We'll have to cut it again. Now, what is this? Oh, I think a kitty. What is that? There's a fly. I think we had a. Boy, that's weird. Yeah, that's a cat. A cat decided to help me out, help me fertilize. And that's weird that they dug like a clump out. It looked like the soil was like um a little pothole, but a cat decided to relieve itself. Okay, here is my my unknown climbing bean group. I planted also the turkey craws, but these beans here, they'll go through the hot summer and they won't die, at least the last. And there's a long story involved with these beans. One, like 3 years ago, one decided to climb the fence, and I was getting beans off of one plant without any watering way until frost. So I like these beans. And some of Mama's, what do you call it, heirloom beans. And I need to trim some of these trees out of this fence. Hackberries are a weed in Tennessee. Okay. And there's a little pumpkin or squash here. I'll remove that and plant somewhere else. And there's even lettuce here growing along a little lettuce he got in between the wall and the concrete pad. Lettuce. I think there's other stuff. Where was that? Oh, the shelf. Yeah, I think that's a Napa. And it's really wilting because it's hot. There's another lettuce. Seeds got in and tomatoes. I've had tomatoes grow into there's a very tiny crack there, but I get a tomato and it would live and produce in the crack. I just leave it harvest. So okay, nice shade. Old tree. I've seemed like every year I cut more branches out to make more light in the garden. There used to be branches clear to the ground. There would be branches out, like right out in here. And now there's no more. And I got lots more light. And I have a decent garden now. And let's see, this is the sage plant. Uh there were they seem to just keep dying in the planter up on the patio, and I decided, well, they're winter hardy, and our they call this our 7A or 7B in Tennessee. We had some pretty cold spells, and I didn't really cover the sage. No, it kind of just it didn't really it just kept kind of green all winter, and now it's starting to grow again. This plant probably going to get huge this year. And there's a little hosta flower plant. There's a weed in it. Oh, there's a fruit little ivy vine too. And there was over next to that wall over there, there was a little garden, and uh and it had boards around it, and it's kind of the boards were rotted away. I just took the dirt. I took the dirt, brought it over. It had a hosta, and there was another hosta I took up to the front yard. It died. So I'm afraid to move this one to the front yard. I may kill it too. Now, what this is, there was this morning, there was mulch here, leaves, just leaves, and all these got poked up. It's like, did the worms do this? Now, that doesn't look like digging. That looks like worms or grubs or whatever underneath pushed up the dirt after I removed the leaves. I don't think that's birds. That doesn't look like birds. It looked like it got pushed by grubs, worms, or whatever, right? Just within a few hours here. Okay, enough of that. That was crazy talk. Oh, my water collection. I got a little water here for if we're not supposed to have rain for like 10 days. So I might be pulling water on like especially early plants. The lettuce might need some water. I'll put heck, I could put like 10 gallons of water on the lettuce and just, guarantee that it's gonna keep growing good. And I got this old barrel that it's full of holes. You see the holes? And I got tape on the outside and it actually holds up. In this one here, I'm gonna have to add another piece of tape because it was leaking out of here when ooh, that one's seeping. So this barrel's probably gonna last. It might be unusable here in the within a year even. It's just rusting through, full of holes, looked like a shotgun hit it. And I'm gonna keep the old barrel until I can't use it anymore. And it's amazing that I plugged the holes halfway up, decent enough to hold water. And the white onions. These are looking good. These are um the first right here, kind of in right here in the middle here. Those were the first onions to come up. They're little for some reason again, they're shorter here up on the end and they get lots of water from the eaves. The pails and stuff will get run over, or actually the eave will completely miss. The water would come right down there and just come off the eaves and splash. And last time, when was it? Probably 10 days ago, the water ran really hard and went clear down to the end of the onion row. So I know it's got plenty of water, but the ones here on top are a little bit shorter. They're good. I mean, they're good, the best onions looking onions I got. I think I planted 9 rows, 8 to 9 rows of onions. I'm gonna have plenty of onions. So here, these are one of the bolted cabbages, but ignore that. And I got some for my wife. She likes broccoli. Oh, we got a head. Got a broccoli head. And I got to get my Captain Jacks out to keep the bugs off. But we're going to have a broccoli head here in about couple, 3 weeks. That's fast. I'm going to have to go get some more broccoli when these bloom out. They were fairly expensive. They're like, I don't know, got six. It might have been $5, $4 to $5. But if I get some nice big heads, it's kind of cost effective. Okay, broccoli, they looking great. Just got to keep them sprayed. Here I got uh, m- mix of a bunch of stuff, and let's see. There's eight. I think I planted 8 different things initially, and a cabbage, another cabbage, and I just every one of these Napas are blooming. Last summer, they got like past knee high and then they would bloom. These guys are blooming right off the ground. But I'll make use out of them. And these here in between the rocks, these are volunteer. So I had some Napas over here, uh, some seed. It's got loose and they're growing all over. And I think I'm just going to leave them because they're going to they're bolting out, so they're not gonna interfere with this other stuff because 'cause they're gonna be cut out of here first and used or just cut out. So and here I got there's some buds on all of these. Bell peppers, got some buds, and I got it's been about 2 weeks or so, and they haven't really changed in size. And I think I remember this one having a bud when I bought it. So I think there's uh peppers like hot weather. And it's been pretty warm, but the nights have been pretty cool. It's been in the 40s the last several days in the morning. Great gardening weather. Come out here at sunrise and you don't do much sweating until about 10 in the morning. So, as before, this is my raised beds from the opposite side, potatoes and onions. And down here are purple sweet potatoes. They haven't moved much since I've transplanted them out. Now, once again, I clipped ends off of sweet potatoes and I put them in the dirt in a pot, and they'll keep growing in the dirt all summer, all winter in the house. And I bring them out, and they have hardly moved since I transplanted them. It's just last year was the same. They just sit there. I think they root and root and root up, and then once it gets hot, they'll take over. They'll take over a bunch of the lawn. They'll be all over the fence. They'll be up in here. Now I'm gonna put my third planting of sweet corn here about 1st of May. I think I've done that last year, where oh, other corn gets ripe, we eat it, and then we need more corn. And my third planting of corn the last several years have been really a really good corn. It's corn weather. It's May, and planting corn in February is kind of crazy, but it does work for the most part. Now here I got this is where I sowed in uh bok choy and Napa, and there's real thick Napa. And if it's gonna bolt, it's gonna be and start blooming at a small size. It doesn't really matter how thick it is. So here, this is all Napa, and up here it starts to go in. That looks like bok choy. That's bok choy. That looks like Napa. It's kind of mixed. This is where I quit planting bok choy, and then down below is Napa. And here, up here, there's no. That's the one that been sown. That's the one that was planted. I didn't move. There's four little clutches of Napa I moved because it was real thick down there, and nothing grew. Nothing. This is where I planted what I thought was real good looking bok choy seed that I harvested. And there's a 4-foot stretch here. None of them came up, and I do have two that germinated there. It's kind of weird. And and the Napa seed was I thought it was like undersized and not big. Like it was harvested, and I didn't think the seed was ripe enough to. I had to. I think it was last winter. It got cold, and I cut a lot of seed before it got real cold, and I would forget it. And that seed looked like nothing. It looked really poor seed. Looked like every single one came up. So you never know. And here is actually looks like a good cabbage. Well, we'll see. It looks like a Jersey Wakefield, and it looks. I hope it may bolt on me. It doesn't feel that. It's got the right shape. It's fairly firm down further, but we'll know in about a couple weeks what's its plan. And here's a couple cabbages that decided to bolt. I cut them, cut the leaves, got the leaves in the fridge. I got plenty of greens. I'm gonna have plenty of greens for hot pot this spring. just all kinds of stuff to harvest to, and it's not ideal. I like to have a nice head of Napa, and it just doesn't look like I'm gonna be able to grow it for some reason. It may be my knowledge, it may be just the wrong kind of seed. I don't know. So next, these first two rows of onions are white onions with this bigger one and darker green. That's a sweet onion from last year that I missed. And it was growing all through the winter. Didn't really cover it up much. Onions are tough. They'll take a lot of cold. And we might have an onion here within a month from that one. Okay. Georgia sweet onions, they're not as tall as the ones up above. Less sun here. Like right now, we're kind of dapple light, not much light, and they look okay. They look fine. I had sweet onions down here last year in the same area, and they did quite well. This next row is red sweet onions. Saw them there at Rural King. I said, well, I'll give them a try because I didn't like how the Texas sweet onions grew. They didn't do that well. I'm trying to try the reds. They'll be pretty cooking. And if they're pretty and they do well, that's even better. And I'll get them again if they work out right. So they're a little bit smaller than the Georgias. And I mulched them this morning. I'm nearly buried them. As long as the germinating, I don't know what they call it, where the first leaf is exposed to the sun, you're good. So keep moisture in, keep weeds down, and it's fertilizer. It's three different things. And that's my method. Instead of going to Walmart and getting a bunch of stuff to, throw the money away. know, uh, in my opinion, a lot of people just do a lot of work in their garden and it's basically a wash for the cost. And like all the onions together, I'm growing, let's see, I'm probably under $20 for all together. And I'll probably have about $200 of onions once it I'm gonna get we're gonna get onion to death, I hope, when they get I I hope it's for I don't I have no more fridge room for onions, so I'm gonna have to, like, hold some in the basement and hope they just and use them first. Okay, next, there's 3 rows of, potatoes. This is my first planting. I planted these way early in February, and I had to cover them during the cold spell, and a lot of them have got buds. Even these down here in the lower light area, there's buds there. And this is the last one that came up. And it's like this one came up after the cold. It was still hiding out. And some of these up here were like 6 inches tall. Yeah, these are already, they don't have to bloom. The, they're just part of what they do. It's telling me that they're sending out, what do you call it? And I've seen potatoes that actually have a potato grow on the top, uh, and they're viable and they can be planted. But that was really rare, and that was in South Dakota. I saw these little potatoes on the top as like a fruit instead of being a tuber in the ground. And that's probably how they grew back in. That's how they probably before they were cultivated. They probably did both. They probably had the seeds on the top, seed potatoes on the top, and they had tubers in the ground. And the tuber, the way of the big advantage with tubers for a plant it's stored energy. And right early in the spring, they can get ahead of everything else, like in the forest or whatever they did eons ago, and they have an advantage. They'll have it's like bulbs, like a tulip bulb and all these other flowering bulbs. They will have advantage to get going real quick in the spring and be ahead of other plants, and they'll reproduce quicker than the other surrounding weeds and all the other competition. Next row. Oh, there you got an hour in. 6 thumbs up. I need some more chats. If you're not chatting, you need to subscribe. Now here I got tomatillos. Now these tomatillos came in with the birds probably. They came in and they pooped some seed out, and I saw this plant with I thought it was a pepper at first, and I let it grow. I think it was on the off the eaves of this shed on the far side, and I thought it was a pepper, so I didn't kill it, and I let it grow. I said, and there's these yellow flowers, and what the heck is that? Peppers don't have yellow flowers. And then I looked, uh, you can take a picture and you know, on the picture info, you can search for what the plant is, and it was a tomatillo. It's a green, it's a what they call husk tomatoes, but it's a tomatillo. They can call them husk tomatoes too, and have a husk and a green fruit inside the husk to keep bugs out and pathogens out because they developed in very humid and wet climates and buggy climates, and that's how they grow. And okay, I harvested seed. This is the third year I've had them, and I I think I planted the oldest seed, the 2-year-old seed, more or less this year. I had this first. There's four little hills with thick clumps. I moved them up from down here to finish out the row. There was nothing but weeds up here, but there was uh, a rural. This is a very decent uh, population. Like last year, I'm going to let them fight for themselves, and I think I know what these are. I think these are they're not tomatillos. They're probably nightshades, and that's the same family. So it was hard to tell them apart. Now I can kind of see. Well, those are nightshades. I got a volunteer tomato here. I may leave it, I may move it. And here's there's a thinner, that might be just a weed. And that's a tomatillo. I think it's got a bug problem. I might come down and spray it tomorrow morning when there's no wind. If there's no wind, okay. Tomatillos. These down here are probably the right thickness for spacing. Those up there, they're just going to have to fight it out. And I'm going to get a big old. The I think tomatillos. I put them in chili, and you're supposed to make. You can make a salsa verde out of them, and that looks like it's kind of a complicated operation. Uh, I'm not a much of a salsa guy anyway. I put them in chili, and they add a little zest. They add a little citrusy feel to them. I put a lot of things in chili. I put sweet pickles in chili, and I grind them up in the processor. And uh, I got a bunch of pickles that need to be used up. They're 10 years old, about, and I use uh, bread and butter pickles in the chili, and it adds a different flavor, a different interesting. And I'm about ready to go in there and have some. I got some chili I made the other day. And 6 watching. Well, there's a few watching. Don't be afraid to subscribe. Now, here's my second corn planting, and I plant 5 to get 6, and this one's got 5. No, not 5 to get Because I had a problem in my earlier corn, I said instead of four to get planting four to get three seeds or three seedlings, I planted five. I'm going to plant five to try to get three to four. So there's just five. There's four there. That's just fine. There's four there. There's four there. There is five here. There's four there. There's three there on this one. This one's got two, but I added some more seed and I'm kind of waiting for it to emerge. It's been over a week, I think. Three, four, and there's three and four. So these up. It's kind of funny. An area that has a little bit more light and heat, there's not as many. Now here, no, that's not a. It's behaving like a. It's flying away. Butterfly. It's it's behaving like one of those cabbage worm butterflies, moths, but it's yellow. So I don't know what it is. Okay. Don't- Now I put this corn in. I had to do a lot of hand watering because it didn't rain for several. Geez, it was like a 2.5 week stretch with no water, no rain. And the best thing, I mean, rain off and on is the best solution for just getting any gardening to work from seed. And I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, you know, uh, I put in this one. I put some more seed in to try to get at least three to four. And I think in some of these others, I put some more seed. I just grabbed the seed. I said, "Oh, I got six in my hand. I'll look for other thin hills," and I drop seed elsewhere. They may show up. Uh, Next, I think this is my third planting of potatoes. These I didn't have to cover during that cold spell because they haven't emerged yet. They were just about to emerge, and they look about as big as any of the others, even the ones down there that don't have much sun. Now, yesterday I mowed my backyard and I mulched it with the grass. And they say not to get grass right up on the foliage, that it might burn it. I and I kind of, I'm kind of keeping it away from uh, the stems and the leaves to make sure it doesn't burn the plants. And I've had no trouble with grass mulching last several years. So, and then when this dries out more and deteriorates, I'll bunch it into the potatoes to because potatoes, I don't plant them very deep and um try to keep it hilled up so the tubers that do grow, they're not exposed to the sun and they're green. And then green potatoes not a good deal because they're supposed to be a little poisonous. So, and if I get a green potato, I try to cut off the green. Sometimes if you get a green, you have one really exposed, the whole potato is green, and that's not a good thing. So next, more cabbages. And I don't know what I was thinking when I planted cabbages because I got, well, how many's in this row? One, two, three, four, five, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, that's the Napa at the end. There's 12 with the Napa at the end. And if they grow right, there's going to be a lot of cabbage. And here is a little bitty volunteer potato. I had potatoes here last year, and that's a tiny one. It'll probably have a little, like a couple marble potato, little, golf ball size potatoes. I need to mark it so I don't step on it. Okay, another row of tomatoes, and these are the later ones. A lot of them have like a good half dozen. There might be four in that one. seedlings in there. And there's some Napa cabbage, volunteer Napa cabbage here and there. I had some Napa over here, and some of the seed got loose. Let's see what's here. I think that's barely alive tomato. I'm gonna give it a chance. I think there's bugs and stuff up here in the median. And there's peppers in this row. I hope I've got the next two rows are peppers. And yeah, I took some seed from a bell pepper and dried it out, and also had some serrano seed peppers. And I don't know which is which. See, this one here is, I'm going to spray tomorrow. There's no question about that one's barely alive. And that one looks good. And the pepper here died, and I stuck a volunteer tomato in there, and I've been watering it every day to make sure it stays alive. More peppers, serranos, or I think these ones with the bigger leaves possibly could be the bell peppers. More peppers. And here's these cabbages that are bolting. And I've already harvested it. See, I can take this foliage and it'll make great hot pot, but I got so much to use in the fridge. And that's peppers. And this is barely alive. If it dies, I'm gonna bring a tomato over. I'm gonna give it some more time. So that's about it of everything in Jim Miller's garden. Look at that morning sun. That was a completely shaded area in the morning. Done a lot of work and hired some work to keep that area. And the other people, they did cut their trees. They cut several trees out too. They helped the salvage area over there. ANS Towing, Sweetwater. They do a good job on your repair needs and such. And they cut a bunch of their trees, and it's helped me a whole lot. It's helped me a lot. It's kind of like a $2,000 job for me. I know they probably spent like four because they did their whole lot, all around their whole lot. 4 viewers. Great. No more chats. Been 72 minutes. Ooh, it's 12:42. 12:42 Eastern time. So another one in Jim Miller's garden. I'm going to turn the thing around and look at my sweaty mess. And he needs a haircut. And I probably won't even have a haircut next time. So Jim Miller's garden, thanks for watching. It's another gardening and I'm gonna do it all summer. I've been doing this last couple years, and I have an archive. Like last night, I was just checking at the when did I do my last video, and then I just started watching and watched the whole thing. I'm getting kind of good at this. I do an okay narration, trying to teach gardening tips, and just showing how to garden with very little expense. And like yesterday, I uh, I had chili, which is the tomatoes were from the garden, and I put in peppers. I put peppers, and I was out of my onions, so I didn't use my onions. But normally I have my onions, my peppers, uh, my tomatoes, tomatillos, just pickles, whatever I grew, and I add to the chili. So yesterday I had 3 meals that involve garden. Three, technically three. I had chili. I had pumpkin pie that was used from squash, from butternut squash. And last evening I had lettuce, lettuce from the garden. And I've already cut 2 harvestings of lettuce, of leaf lettuce, and it's been tasting real good. And, so another Miller's garden wrapped up, and I need some rain. I need some rain before the next video because I'm gonna probably use my water up, and then I do not want to get the hose out. My crappy old 20-year hoses with holes in them to start watering. So I don't think I'll need it. I think we're gonna get rain here within a couple weeks. And like last time, it was like 2.5 weeks with no rain. Got 2 and 2.25 inches of rain. It just solved so many problems about worrying about getting enough moisture. And most of that 2.25 inches of rain is still on the ground here because it's early in the year and the plants don't take a lot. You got short, short sunlight hours. You got relatively cool temperatures, and the moisture in the garden goes quite a ways. So uh, I'm rambling here to wrap up. And Jim Miller's Garden. Well, thanks for watching. And, you know, that's about it. And, I put a little note out, I post on YouTube to say I was about ready to do a video. And that didn't really seem to help me numbers wise, but, you know, if it helped anybody, that's good that I was about ready to do a little uh, video. So thanks for watching in Jim Miller's Garden, and I'll give you a last big pan of the whole garden. Everything is pretty much covered up, and I'm going to make the garden bigger, I hope, with another raised bed within the next couple weeks. So that might be something to see next time. Thanks for watching.